Happy Friday, everybody. And I am here today to discuss or to talk about anxiety and overwhelm. So today is the first time that I'm actually using my webcam. So it isn't new. I've had it for about a year. I've just never done a Facebook Live with it. So just kind of bear with me as I get it going, and hopefully it will be okay. I've done one Facebook Live with it. It seemed to have been okay, and so the placement may or not have been off, but over time, I'm sure we'll work that out. Okay, so as you can see, depending on where you see in the video, it's either above or below. The title is, are you tired of obsessing over what people think about you? And then as well as, are you tired of just self-doubt, and is anxiety, worry, and fear just zapping all of your energy and then making you just leaving you feeling extremely overwhelmed? Okay, and so that's what I'm going to talk about today. I've got some tips to share with you to fight anxiety and overwhelm at the job. Okay, and so oftentimes this time of the year we can kind of get into a lot of anxiety and overwhelm. But if you suffer from anxiety, you understand that any day of the week and any time of the year, the overwhelm can kick in. I think at this time of the year, which, oftentimes we're trying to do so much. We're trying to celebrate the holidays, and there are holiday parties. And for some of us, we've got to get in evaluations before the end of the year, or we are doing the evaluations of people, and we're feeling a little stressed and overwhelmed. And just with everything piling on at once, it is very easy to feel like this time of the year is overwhelmed. I've often heard people say, I hate to see Thanksgiving and Christmas come because I'm just overwhelmed and I hate it and I just feel like I'm drowning and I don't know what to do. Okay, and so let's talk about some reasons why people feel overwhelmed. Oftentimes when people feel overwhelmed, it's because they feel powerless. And when you feel like you need approval from other people, you can often feel powerless, because when you need the approval because you want to feel sure that you're on the right track and doing what you want to do, but then you start to think, well, what are they thinking about me? What are they saying about me? Am I asking for too much help, or am I asking for too much assistance? I may need to stand on my own 2 feet. Well, when do I need to ask help? Do I need to be on my own 2? And you kind of go back and forth, and it just becomes this vicious circle, and you just feel like you're overwhelmed because you feel like you're powerless at that point. Okay, and so another reason why people feel anxiety and overwhelm is because they doubt their skills. They doubt them. I can just share a personal story. When I left college, once I graduated, I was commissioned as a second lieutenant into the Army, into the Corps of Engineers. It was the absolute last thing I ever wanted. Right above engineer, right above armor, all the combat things. I did not want to be combat anything. I had a pre-med major. I just knew I was a shoe-in for the Medical Service Corps. So I went and trained, as a combat engineer in the Corps of Engineers. And I just never felt, because I didn't spend 4 years studying that, I never felt comfortable with it. And I know the instructor's like, oh, you don't need a degree in engineering. It's just cookbook engineering and you'll be okay. But for me, self-doubt just didn't allow me to believe that. So I had the same exact training in the Army that everybody else did, but I never felt sure of my training. Therefore, when I got to my first duty station, I was always wondering, am I doing it right? Is it enough? Is it too much? And I just, those thoughts will circle back and forth, just a lot of doubt. And me doubting my abilities and doubting my capabilities just caused my anxiety to go up even more. And I always felt unsure. And again, I felt powerless. They put me here. I didn't want to be here, but I got to perform because, all the Army time, and I just got to do what they said I have to do. But I always had that doubt in the back of my mind. Okay, and so and that's another thing that can just kick you into overwhelm and anxiety. It's just doubting your own capabilities. And another thing that kicks people into overwhelm and makes them feel powerless is focusing on too many things at one time. You're trying to do 15 different tasks all at once, and everything has a deadline and everything is due. It is very easy just to feel overwhelmed, and when the anxiety kicks in, there's just not enough time in day in my week to get all this stuff done. And I've been in jobs where I would just take work home. I just felt like I couldn't get everything done at once, and I would take it home rather than delegate to the people around me. I would take it home, and it was just always feeling overwhelmed. Too much to do at one time, all the time. And it's just, it's kind of easy to understand why you would feel overwhelmed. Okay. And so the last thing that can make people feel anxious and overwhelmed, and it's something that we don't often talk about, but lack of sleep will make you feel overwhelmed. And the lack of eating a proper diet with all the nutrients that you need, and lack of drinking enough water. All of those things can contribute to feeling overwhelmed. If you're not feeding your body the fuel that it needs for power, and you're trying to, you're putting out like 110%, but you're only giving your body 30%, yeah, you're going to feel overwhelmed. It's just everything's going to feel overwhelmed. Okay. And I can share this with you. At the time I didn't know, but I had a complete lack of vitamin D, a huge deficit of vitamin D. And I couldn't understand why every joint in my body hurt. Every joint I had ached. My ankles hurt. I even had the joints of my fingers that hurt. My wrist hurt. My elbows hurt. My shoulders, my hips, my knees, every joint, the back of my neck even hurt. Even had, up around my eye sockets that just hurt and it ached. Then I had problems staying warm. Middle of summertime, but I still could not stay warm. And I would work at home at the time, work virtually, and I would have a blanket. The air conditioner would be on, but I'd have to have blankets, for me, because I could not stay warm. And finally, I went in to see my doctor for a checkup. And she shared with me that I had a lack of vitamin D, and it was so bad that they had to give me that 50,000 unit dose. For like a week or two, and then you take regular doses after that. I didn't know. I just knew that every joint, so you can imagine trying to go in and getting all of this work done and all these tasks done, and you ache from head to toe. You just ache. And that was just from a lack of vitamin D. Another thing that people don't realize is that if your vitamin D deficiency is large enough, it will kick you over into depression. It is a trigger for depression. So there are a lot of the trace elements in our bodies that when we don't get what we need, they can cause some really bad problems in our lives. And all of it you're never aware because you're so busy plugging along trying to get work done. And so again, the things that make you feel overwhelmed or make you feel powerless, like you don't have the energy, you don't have the control, is just doubting yourself and always needing approval from other people. And just trying to do way too much at one time without having a clear goal of what's important first, what's important second, third, and so forth. Okay. And so, what makes us feel overwhelmed would definitely differ from person to person. And I know for me, and I don't know why I do these things to myself, but as a single parent, I had kids and they were all in the activities and the volleyball and the basketball, and band and chorus and all of that. And at the same time, I was working a full-time job. And at the same time, I was going to school full-time to get my PhD. And at the same time, I had a private practice, a counseling private practice at the time. Certainly overwhelmed because I was trying to do so much at one time. And so what makes me feel overwhelmed may not necessarily make the other person feel overwhelmed, but I think we all know when we're overwhelmed. I can remember, and my kids will attest, because I'm not always the best person to be around when I feel overwhelmed. Now, I have to be honest and say this, that I will tell people, you really don't want to be around me right now because I'm overwhelmed and I'm just not good company. I do warn people, but I have sent myself to my room. Okay, when my kids were small, I would send them to their rooms. When I would get overwhelmed, I just sent myself to my room, and I knew it was time for me to get sleep and to make sure I was eating properly, because I knew when everything in my life, every task in my life seemed like a freaking mountain I had to climb, I had to step back and understand that I was definitely in overwhelm. And oftentimes for me, it was all that was going on with my life, and some things that couldn't necessarily wait. But certainly I always understood when I was going on sleep deficit, send yourself to bed. And my kids would sometimes look at me like, why is mommy in bed so early? Because I would just send myself to bed. I knew when I was in overwhelm. Okay. And so, again, what makes one person feel overwhelmed is not the same, but we all know when we feel overwhelmed. Okay. And the important thing is what you hear today is just learn some tips how to deal with the anxiety and overwhelm. So my tip number one is take a deep breath. In fact, take 10 deep breaths. And so when I say take a deep breath, I am talking about that slow inhale through the nose and the mouth so that your whole entire diaphragm fills up where it feels like you're full of air to your shoulders. Breathe completely in, and then through the mouth, just breathe slowly out. Okay. Once you have that breath, repeat 9 more times. 10 deep breaths. Just from the diaphragm, taking your time to breathe in and breathe out. It's about 2 minutes. So you can count count your 10 breaths, or you can set a timer for 2 minutes. Same thing, but it would trigger your body to come out of fight or flight. It would trigger the body to leave fight or flight. And that's important to say, well, how does it do that? Well, when you're doing the deep breaths, if you're doing it right, you're getting excess oxygen to the brain. Okay, and that's triggering some other things that said, okay, we're out of danger. Let's just calm down and take a chill pill. Why is it important for you to come out of fight or flight? When we're not in fight or flight, the part of our brain that can think logically, make decisions, choose one thing over the other, the best thing to do first, second, third, that part of the brain is like on hiatus when we're in fight or flight. In fight or flight, you're just operating off emotions. Sometimes it's anger, sometimes it's fear, sometimes it's depression, whatever emotion you can grab a hold of, that's what you're reacting, when you're on fight or flight. Okay, I see Monica join. Hey, Monica and Tracy. So again, when you take those 10 deep breaths in and let it out, or 2 minutes of breathing, you're triggering your body to turn off fight or flight. Okay, and when you get fight or flight turned off, then you can go to the second tip on my list. My second tip is prioritize, 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 prioritize. I'm going to say it 2 more times. Prioritize, prioritize. If everything on your list is important, then nothing on your list to do is important. Nothing. Everything can't be important. Now, I know your boss may think you're Superwoman or you're Superman for the guys that are watching, but no. If everything on your list is number one priority, nothing on your list is important. And that causes overwhelm because you can't figure out how to put something first and what to put second and what to put third. You have no idea because it's all important. Then you get anxious, then you get overwhelmed, and you're like, well, what's wrong with me? Nothing. You just need to set some priorities. Okay, it's very, very important. And sometimes this, because you can have those supervisors that will throw things and they'll throw in their throat. It's like, this is important, this is important. This is when you do your 10 breaths. You take a chill, come down 1,002, and go to your boss and say, hey, I have this on my list. All of these things on my list. What do you need done first? What do you need done second? What's the priority for the day? Okay. Now, if you are the supervisor, then you get to make the priority. You may have to go to your exec or your person in whatever position, or they should have given you, what's important. But if you're in that supervisory role, pretty much you get to make the determination. Okay, this is first, this is second, this is third. We'll get to it. Okay. Now, some of you may work for those supervisors that say, don't bring a problem to me, bring a solution. And so I've worked for supervisors like that. So here's my recommendation for that. You take everything that they've thrown at you all day long, all the tasks that they've thrown to you, and then you put it in order to what you think is workable and what you think the priority is. Then you go in and say, hey, I just need to be sure and check. I have 10 tasks to do today, and I want to be sure that I'm working on your priority. Here's my list that I prioritize. What do you think about it? Okay. And so you're not asking them to solve a problem because you solved it. You have a solution. You brought in a solution, but you're basically checking in with them to be sure that what you think is a priority, they think is a priority. Because I've had my supervisors say, no, that's not the priority today. It was, now it's this. And that's where that communication with your supervisor comes important. And you go, hey, once they throw something in, say, get it done now. You check, just follow up and check back in. The priority before was this, this, this. You want me to put this first and then move things down? And then that kind of helps them keep track of what they're kind of throwing your way. And then it helps you manage the overwhelm. Okay, so number 2 was prioritize, prioritize, prioritize your list, because if everything is important, nothing's important. Okay, so number 3 on my list is, after you prioritize, take action. Do something. When we move our bodies into action, it's like tension is releasing. We feel like we're doing something and we're making progress. The thing is to be sure that you chunk your actions down in doable chunks. Okay, and so let me just say that it wasn't my most stellar time in my life, but I've eaten entire chocolate cakes. I don't do that anymore. It's a whole nother story why I was doing it at the time. But how did I eat an entire chocolate cake? Just me. It was like before I had kids. You eat a whole chocolate cake. I'm eating a whole birthday. I'm sorry, I'm getting off track there. But anyway, you can tell I love cake. Okay, so how did I eat an entire chocolate cake? Well, I certainly didn't sit down and eat half the cake. I did it slice by slice by slice by slice. And so when you get your priority list, that's what you have to do. You chunk it down into small chunks. You know, the first thing on your list, don't try to tackle it all at once. Chunk it down 3, 4, 5 pieces, whatever you got to do. Get that done. Pat yourself on the back that you got something done. Get that sense of accomplishment, and let that sense of accomplishment take you to the next task that you've chunked down. Once you do all the little chunks in that piece, pat yourself on the back again, because you're making progress, and then you take that progress and you roll over to the next chunk. And you take everything and you chunk it down until you work through your list. And it's important. And that way, again, just think about me eating a whole chocolate cake back in the days when I should have been doing that. But anyway, that is how you do it. You eat it a small forkful at a time, because you chunk it down, okay, to get your list done. Now, the 4th thing, and it's not like rocket science or anything, but make sure you eat a proper diet, get all your nutrients, make sure you drink enough water, and make sure you get enough sleep. Because as I said before, when you don't have I know for me, when I don't have enough sleep, every task that I got to do looks like a mountain. It's like, oh God, I got to shop for groceries today. Oh God, I got to do this task today. Oh, I have to do that. Everything just looks like it's out of proportion. It's like, yeah, I've done the same thing at work over and over again, but I know when I haven't gotten enough sleep, because it's like blown out of proportion. I feel like it's like climbing a mountain for everything I got to do. All right, and so again, it's important to get the proper diet, get the proper nutrients, and get the proper sleep. You can't fill anything from an empty vessel. You know, you just can't. You have nothing to give. And that's when you get to the overwhelmed state and the anxious state. And for a lot of people, they end up sick. You know, I've had coworkers that ended up sick, having to take 2 or 3 weeks off work because they got overwhelmed trying to do so much at one time, didn't take care of themselves, and they ended up, you know, I had a coworker often, her doctor used to tell her, go home, take a week off, and don't lift anything heavier than a broomstick. She was that stressed out. So you don't have to let yourself get there. If you go over these 4 things that I've given you, okay? And again, number 1 was take a deep breath. In fact, take 10 deep breaths. At least 2 minutes of deep breathing from the diaphragm. Breathe in and breathe out and take your time. And let me say that if you're breathing and you're like, my head is spinning and I'm dizzy now, you are not breathing correctly. What you're doing is hyperventilating. You're breathing from your chest. That's hyperventilating, won't do you any good. You really have to breathe from the diaphragm. 10 long, deep breaths slowly out, and it'll trigger your body to turn off the fight or flight response and bring you out of anxiety. Number 2, prioritize. Look at what you have to do. Prioritize. Get your boss to sign off on it, or you make a list and make sure your boss is good to go with your list, and then you go back and work that list. By number 3, chunking down your list. Take action, but chunk that list down into smaller parts so that you can do something, get that sense of accomplishment, do something and get that sense of accomplishment. Okay. And then number 4 again was eat a proper diet, drink enough water, and get enough sleep, get enough rest. Okay. And rest also includes having fun time. You know, schedule some time in your day. I was talking to someone today, schedule like 30 minutes in your day, at least 3 days a week, where you give yourself permission just to sit. If it's just read, if it's just sit, you know, I'm a water person, so all the scenes on my screensaver tend to be beaches, and I sit there and stare at it, you know, pretend I'm on the beach and I can feel the cool breeze blowing through, and I have my, you know, my drink with a little cutesy umbrella in it. I don't drink, but you know, I always get virgin daiquiris or virgin pina coladas. Makes me feel like, you know, I'm on the beach, I'm just relaxing. Give yourself 30 minutes in a day to go to your safe place, your nice place, your fun place, and just relax. Just 30 minutes, at least 30 minutes a day. What you'll figure out is the more you build in that just be time, where you're just relaxing, you know, you're not checking off this, I got to do this and then that and then that. Once you give yourself to calm down, that time to rest and relax, what you'll find is that that creative side of your brain will start shooting off ideas at you. It just comes out and you're like, why didn't I think of this before? This is easy. I could have thought of this before. It's because you're overwhelmed and you're so filled with anxiety and overwhelm. That part of your creative side of your brain is just turned completely off. You can't get there until you teach yourself to relax. So that is my truth today. And I appreciate everybody for watching. And I wish everybody a great weekend. Take care. Bye-bye.